Well, welcome back to Senior Travel Adventures. And I am super excited right now because I have the most wonderful person, Joyce Perrin, with me today. She's the author of the book Ants in My Pants. And I have to agree that I have those too. She started traveling primarily when she was in her late 50s, and she has visited over 156 countries. And she finally settled in Panama for a while, and now she lives in the Toronto area. So, Joyce, thank you so much for being with me today. I can't wait to hear some stories.
Thank you for inviting me. Well, I love sharing my stories and I love traveling solo, even at my age of 87. And so I just encourage people to try it themselves and they will enjoy it. There is so much to learn in this world, and we're so fortunate we can go and visit. So please just, uh, I have so many stories to tell.
I know. I want to hear about a little bit about your time in the Middle East when you worked, and I want to talk about your involvement with the World Health Organization and some of your volunteerism. I think that's something that I think my audience would really enjoy hearing about.
Well, I was divorced, and I had told my children that I always wanted to travel and live in a foreign country. And I started with wanting to be an air stewardess, and you had to be a nurse at that time. And then when I became a nurse, I was too short. So they wouldn't let me be an air stewardess. So I got married, had three children, had a wonderful life, and traveled with the three children around the Pacific Rim. And it was a wonderful experience. I loved it. But the way I got interested in traveling was we had this lovely set of books. This was before internet, before TV. So we had a lovely set of books at home called Lands and Peoples. And it piqued my interest in traveling and seeing people from different cultures where they lived. And I just wanted to meet them. Well, the opportunity came to me when I was a girl guide, and I was chosen to be one of a few people to go to a camp in Sweden. And there I met Lady Baden Powell. And she really was inspiration to me. I met her several times, and it just happened that she was coming back to Edmonton after the camp. And so I saw her again, had a meal, and she signed all my pictures for me. And she had a motto: happiness comes not from what you have, but from what you give and what you share. And that became ingrained in me. And so I decided to work in Saudi Arabia because I needed some money to be able to travel. And I put my things in storage, sold my condo, left it gaining interest, and worked in Saudi Arabia for 3.5 years. Then after that, the World Health Organization recruited me, as did the International Executive Service Corps from the United States. And so I was able to contribute to healthcare in various countries around the world.
I know you had all these very rewarding experiences, and that's what you wrote about in the book. Um, but what do you feel? Do you have one that really stands out, like, or is it just all so good? Or was there like one specific thing that you did that was just ingrained forever and you think about it all the time?
The one, well, first of all, my mission was to see the world and visit families in their own country. It wasn't to take a tour, take a cruise, take a bus tour. No, that wasn't my mission. My mission was to meet the people in the country and stay with them. And there were several organizations that you were able to do that. And but one was that in Zimbabwe, I saw this post in one of the travel agents, and they said you could go and stay with a family in um, Zimbabwe. And so I said, well, I want to do that. So I was contributing to their family by paying for this. And the job I had was to do what the women did in their work, daily work. Well, the history in Zimbabwe and the culture is that the women do everything and the man just gives all the orders. I had
Oh,
done a lot of research, and truly that was the case. Well, I arrived, and this is where I got ants in my pants. That is a true story. I was waiting for the bus 3.5 hours, standing, standing, standing. And finally, I threw my scarf on the ground, a big, like it's a big kind of thing that you can wrap around you and so on. Threw that in their arm. I was sitting there, and these people started looking at me. I thought, this is funny. Why are they looking at me? And nobody else was sitting on the ground. I should have twigged. But I was exhausted in the heat, trying to get a little shade. Well, then soon I found out why. Well, the men, first of all, I did the Highland fling, I did the river dance, I jumped around. I didn't know what to do. I was wearing slacks. How am I going to get these ants out of my pants with everybody standing around? Well, finally I laughed. And then everybody laughed, and the women said, come on over here, Joyce. By that time, they knew my name. And so they came, and they had these big skirts on, very wide skirts, and they held their skirt up. The men turned the other way. I got in their circle, dropped my pants, got rid of the ants, and then everybody was fine. We became fast friends. And the bus trip finally came. So, and now traveling is so different because you have cell phones and
right.
you have this instant communication, and they can track you by your cell phone. But I still think it's a good idea. If you're traveling solo and you really should have a dog tag on.
That's a great idea. You know, they have these little thing called road IDs. I used to wear them when I was running, and they had all
Uh-huh.
my personal information. So if something happened while I was running, that they would be able to
Smart
contact my,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but you're right. Having a physical, as much as I love technology, I'm all about having a physical piece as well when you're traveling. How did you end up in Panama?
Well, I ended up in Panama because it was the last of my countries. I had seen all I could in Africa. Some of the countries I couldn't see them. In my book, Ants in My Pants, which is here, there
Mhm.
is a map of the countries that
Yeah, 156 countries, right? That's a lot of countries.
157 countries
Oh,
and 31 territories. All the countries in gray are the ones I've been to. The ones that are white, I didn't get to. And the other message that I really think is important for people, and this is for the people who are 45, 50, 55, and getting ready to retire, that what you do in your 40s and 50s and 60s in health wise, whether it's nutrition, physical fitness, mental health, being able to communicate with people, makes a big difference in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, because now people who retire at 60, they've got 30 years to their 90. People will
right.
live to 90s for sure.
Oh, and that's why I travel now. I mean, I traveled for work, but I traveling for now to see my bucket list items. I started a few years ago because right now I have the time, I still have the energy, but I want to have as much energy as you do, when I'm 87, I hope. And I'm just going to keep going until my body says it can't go anymore.
Well,
That's kind
that's
of my
great. So, And if you want to go to Antarctica, which happens to be my favorite country, my favorite place, then you need to go now.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have amazing stories, and I wish we had more time, but we're going to have to wrap up. And one of the things I would like to just tell the audience is Joyce has a wonderful website. She has her book, and you can read all about her adventures. And I am so fortunate to have met her through Journey Women, and who is on the episode that April episode. And I just appreciate knowing all your story, and I'm so glad that we got to share this time together today. And I think we could talk for days and days and days about all the fun you've had.
Well, I just encourage women now to travel solo. It's wonderful because you're responsible for yourself and you learn a lot and you really get to know your body when you're traveling. And I just wish everybody safe travels.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Joyce. I appreciate it. And just I've enjoyed this so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being here.